Hello and welcome to the Horsemanship and Mindset podcast with your host, Kimberly Dunn of Idlewild Horsemanship and Mindset Coaching. This podcast is here to bring you the very best in tips, tricks, and advice to help you better understand yourself, your mindset, and your horse, because your horsemanship starts with you. Let's go. Hello, welcome to another episode of the Horsemanship and Mindset podcast. I'm delighted to be here. I'm delighted to have you here. I hope you're well. And if you are living in the southwest of England right now, sending you all the love because the weather's been awful. So today, my recording day is Tuesday. I was supposed to be driving down to Devon today for a couple of days to pick some things up and just get a couple of bits and bobs done. And cancelled it. I'm so glad I did because of this we had an amber weather warning and there's all flooding everywhere. And it's really bad here today, actually. So if you hear any wind or rain battering the windows in the background, then that's why. So yeah, sending you all lots of love with your horses down there because that's grim. And I know if I'd still had my horse, I wouldn't have been able to get to him today because that road always floods. So, grim. Anyway, hope you're doing okay if you're down there. So, diving into today's episode. So, today I wanted to kind of tap into this trend that is floating around, certainly on Instagram at the minute. This whole 2016 is the new 2026, or 2026 is the new 2016, or I don't know. I've seen loads of these posts, and I was thinking, oh, should I do one? Should I not? And then I thought, right, well, what was I doing in 2016? And I scrolled back on my personal Instagram, and 2016 for me was a massive year, which is really interesting because, it was a year that I left my job after being there for 8 years, basically my whole of my 20s, and went to blooming Australia. And had a whole kind of massive adventure, but also it was actually a really difficult year too. So there's a lot to be taken for me from that year. So I thought it's definitely worth talking about. So buckle in for a bit of a kind of reflection episode for me. So this trend, I still don't really fully understand what the point of it is, but from what I gather, I don't know why people are saying it's the new 2016 this year. Answers on a postcard, or send me an email or a message if you actually understand what the fudge it's all about. But anyway, so my 2016, it was a year of massive growth, adventure, but it was also really uncomfortable and kind of terrifying. So so I would have been 28. I'd just turned 28. And I had been in the job that I was in at the time for 8 years. Or nearly 8 years. And I'd gotten to the point in it. So I was working at a quite big Western riding facility in the Midlands, in the East Midlands, and I kind of grew up there, I guess, because I started there when I was 21, and I got into Western riding, loved it. I started there as a groom. I finished there and I was kind of managing the yard, and I was teaching. I was teaching at clinics and camps and doing lessons and stuff. I had been showing horses, and I loved it. I loved that job. I loved that place. I loved it all, and it meant a lot to me. It was my life, really. I dedicated a lot of myself to that place for a long time over, you know, a lot of other things. Like, I prioritized my job at the time over a lot of other life things. Um, it was a lot. It was quite an intense time. And actually, when I look back on, you know, times there and I think about my self-worth and stuff, like I was giving a lot of my I was putting a lot of my own value and self-worth into that place and to what people thought of me rather than into myself, if you see what I mean. So, yeah, it was I was in my 20s, so I look back now and I think, oh, yeah, when you're in your 20s, you kind of don't know what you're doing, do you? You just. Anyway, I loved the place. I loved my job very deeply. However, I'd been there a long time and I'd gotten to the point where I kind of wasn't progressing how I wanted to be. I had stopped the showing was coming to a bit of a stop because they'd hired in a assistant trainer and it was made clear that my job was my job and there wasn't going to be much else outside of it, if you see what I mean. And I wanted to be stepping more into that kind of learning more about training the horses. I wanted to be teaching more. I wanted to be going to shows and all of that. And that just wasn't happening anymore. So I had I'd met a trainer in the US who had come over to teach a clinic. He was incredible. I learned a lot on the clinics that he taught. I had a really cool chat with a lady who came with him who had traveled the world, and she really inspired me. And I thought, right, okay, there is actually a world out there. Who knew? Because at the time, my world was that place. And it kind of really opened my eyes to, oh, okay, there's other ways of training horses. There's a whole world out there that I can be doing horsey things in. Why am I just limiting myself to this? Especially now, things are feeling a bit sticky and I'm feeling a bit stuck. And so I contacted this chap and asked if I could have a job, basically. And to my surprise, he said yes. However, he wasn't in a position where he could actually take anyone on right now because he didn't have a base that he was based at. Anyway, so that was all going to happen in the future. But I had still got to the point where I was like, do you know what? I need to finish up here. I need to leave. I need to do something. I had been saving money. And my kind of promise to myself was like, right, you're saving money. With this money, you are either going to move out and move closer to the job that you're in, or you're going to go traveling. And so I used the money to go traveling. So I handed my notice in at my job, which felt terrifying after being there for so long and it being my life. And I got on the old trusty yardandgroom.com. I don't know if anybody else has ever used that for jobs. It's so good for if you want to go and work anywhere in the world, that is a great place to look. And there was a job in near Melbourne in Australia at this little Western riding school. And I thought, oh, perfect. Go there for a couple of months and then travel a little bit. And then by the time I get home, maybe then I can go to America. And so spoke to the lady, got the job and booked my flights. And had my last day at my work. And I don't know, I think it was maybe a week or two after that, flew to Australia. Terrifying. So I was totally devastated and upset to leave my job. That was like a whole thing because, obviously I was going to miss it. And it was just like a whole big change. I can very vividly remember my last day there, jet washing stables or something. And then, I also very vividly remember leaving my dad at the airport and just being like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. Flying to Australia. And I remember waking up on the plane. It was night, so it was all dark in the plane. I remember just waking up thinking, what the hell am I doing? What am I doing? I felt so kind of alone and scared and just whoa, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. Anyway, so landed there and was picked. Oh no, I forgot. I booked a little mini adventure before I went to work at this place. So I booked to do this little tour. So I think I stayed. Right, brain. what did I do? I think I went to Melbourne. I stayed in a hostel and then was picked up and went on this trip. It was really cool, actually. It was like a little welcome to Australia trip for me anyway. It was a little bus tour and we went to the 12 Apostles, which is like on the coast and it's like sticking out rocks. Anyway, it's very beautiful and there's pictures of me with parrots and stuff. Um, and met a great bunch of people. And I remember standing on the beach thinking, oh my God, I am on a beach in Australia. It was crackers, but it was very cool. Yeah, so I had that little trip. And then I came back to Melbourne and then I was picked up by the husband of the lady that I was working for. And off we went to this new job. So now this was a whole other experience. It was not the one I was expecting, let me tell you. So went off to this little riding school. And so it turns out that this lady often hired backpackers. So backpackers come in and out of Australia and I guess New Zealand, all the time, like young people, like doing their gap year or whatever. And they just float from place to place, working for cheap and just they come, they go, etc. So this is what this lady had been hiring. Obviously, I wasn't that. I was 28, so I was a bit older, and my intention was to be there for 4 months, and I wasn't even going to travel after. I don't know what I was thinking. My plan wasn't even to travel after it. I just wanted to go somewhere different and have a new experience, Anyway, so she had a setup for these backpackers. So basically, and I am not exaggerating when I say this, I lived in a shed. It was basically like a little shed that had been converted so that it was kind of, I don't know, I guess it was a large shed, like a garden shed type wooden structure. And it had 2 beds in it and a TV. And that was it. And then there was a little outside toilet around the corner. And then if we wanted a shower, we went in their house to have a shower and we went in their house to eat. So that was one. So I was like, oh, okay, we're in a shed. Okay, that's fine. And there was I don't know if it was just me to start with, but it was always me and someone else. But basically what would happen is the lady was quite difficult to work for. I later found out that she had a thyroid issue that was later diagnosed, which is why because she was very up and down. She would be okay 1 minute and then she would be absolutely quite aggressive the next minute. Yeah. Anyway, so she was quite difficult to work for, but I was at a point where I was just like, okay, I can handle this. This is fine. Like, anybody who's worked in the horse industry will have worked for tough people at some point. So if you're listening to this is probably not news to you either. And I was just like, okay, let's just suck it up and deal with it. Anyway, so that was fine, but it was a nice place. And basically, it was like a little riding school. So there's always lessons. There's always people in and out. So I got to teach, which was great because I love teaching. I got to do some really cute kids lessons, and the horses were nice and they were well looked after. So basically while I was there, I was just kind of grooming, looking after the horses, doing the feeds and stuff, and then helping in lessons. So like leading and stuff, but then also I got to teach because I had a teaching background. So that was good. I got to ride a little bit. But the interesting thing that happened here, that I want to talk about confidence wise is that, I had spent 8 years at my other role, and over that time, as I've said, I was running the place, I was showing, I was grooming at shows, I was teaching, da 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 da. I had left there fairly well established in my own ability. in my knowledge, in my skills, etc., etc. At that point, before I had even worked at this place for a long time, I had done a couple of grooming roles and been to college and all the rest of it. So as far as I was concerned, I knew my stuff. I wouldn't say that I'd gone into that job thinking that I was super duper, but I would say I went into that job thinking I can handle this. This is fine. And interestingly, what happened was, because this lady was, she was tough. She was very tough. She was very kind of opinionated. She had no filter, especially if she was having one of her more kind of aggressive days. And she said, there was a few things she said that very quickly picked away at my confidence and what I thought I knew, which was just so interesting, because it just shows you that actually confidence can be circumstantial, and it can actually rely a lot on the environment that you have around you. So where I had been working before, I'd been there a long time. I was pretty well established. I got on well with everyone that I worked with. Um, I was in an environment that I had been in for a long time that I was quite well bolstered in. And here I was, plucked out of that, put on the other side of the world on my own in a different environment with different living living arrangements, different, I didn't have my friends, I didn't have my family. Back then, communication wasn't as easy as it is now. Like, if I wanted to talk to anyone at home, I had to go to the house and connect to the Wi-Fi. It wasn't as easy. So I did feel alone. And so this lady with this other opinion, because she was a very strong character. It got in and kind of started niggling away at my confidence, and very quickly it just totally dissolved. Which, as I look back now, it makes me realize what a delicate pedestal my own self-belief, my self-confidence was back then. If I went there now as who I am now, totally different person, I know that I would have handled it differently. I know that I would have been able to take this lady for who she was and what she was in that moment, and taken what I needed from it and forgotten what I didn't. So, any of the criticism that she was sending my way, I just would have been like, all right, okay, that's good information. Thank you. Know where I've been and what I've done and what works for me and what doesn't, etc. And just taken what I needed and left what I didn't, and not let it affect me. It would have been water off a duck's back. Whereas then, oh God, yeah, it really chipped away. But anyway, while I was there, despite the scariness and the bits of criticism, I stayed. That was the other thing about me then that isn't a thing now, is that it didn't matter how tough something was. It didn't matter how I was spoken to, what happened, any of that. If I say, I'm going to be here 4 months, I'm going to get my head down and be there for 4 months. And I had multiple girls that came in, other backpackers that came in and would stay a day and go. Or one girl left in the night. She got in a car and went, because she was like, I am not working here because it's late. But I stayed. I was just like, no, I'm staying. I've said I'm going to stay. I'm going to do it. I don't know, just bloody weird stoicism that I had then. Whereas now I'd be like, I'm sorry, you can't talk to me like that. I'm not here to work my ass off for you and have you talk to me like that. And I'd have gone, which, on reflection, maybe I should have been more like one of those 21-year-old backpackers and been like, nope, off I go. I'm not putting up with this. So, yeah, very, very funny. Anyway, so yeah, I stayed there 4 months. And in that time, I did enjoy the teaching. There were some lovely people that I coached. I did a little bit of riding, and I did actually get to do a little bit of a clinic with this really old school Australian horse trainer that came in, which was good. So, and I earned a bit of money, and it's always a good story to tell. So, yeah. Um, and then after that, I kind of got to the end and I was like, I don't want to go home yet. And so I went backpacking. So I booked um, onto this other, because I was a bit scared to do it totally on my own. So I booked into this tour thing. So basically, what it does is it like organizes stops for you. You have to get to the first one, and then you'd like stay at a hostel, and then you would get on a bus and it would take you to the next destination, and then you'd be there for a couple of days, and then the bus would take you to the next destination, and you would have like the occasional kind of trip or something organized in there as well. So it's quite well done. Anyway, so I went up I think it was 3 weeks. So traveled up the East Coast, and that was amazing. I went to so many different like cities and beaches and did so many cool things. I went kayaking in, oh my God, that was amazing. Went to Byron Bay, went kayaking, sea kayaking, saw sea turtles, dolphins, whatchamacallits, what are they bloody called? Humpback whales. Um, just did so many cool things. But one of the biggest things I learned in that time, particularly in Australia, not so much New Zealand. While I was there, I spent a lot of time on my own because as I was there as a backpacker with my big fat pink suitcase, by the way, um, I was 28. Everyone else was like 19, 21, really quite young. And there was a real difference in the way they were and the way I was. I was just like there to experience things, and they were kind of doing other things, and experiencing other things. And I was just like, do you know what? I'm not bothered about making friends. I'm not bothered about going out and partying or, you know, hooking up with everyone. I was just like, I'm quite happy on my own. And it was a bit of a realization for me, because up until traveling, I had always felt like I needed to, be around people, or I wasn't necessarily capable of doing something on my own or being on my own. And this was a real big lesson to me in actually you can do this on your own, and you can be okay in your own company, and you can enjoy your own company. You don't need to make kind of, like false holiday friends, especially when everyone was just so much younger at the time. So yeah, it was really, really interesting. But it was absolutely amazing, and I loved it. So again, I got to the end of that trip and I was like, "Oh, I'm not ready to go home yet." I still had some money left, and I thought, do you know what? I'm going to go to New Zealand. I've come all this way across the blooming world. I'm going to go to New Zealand. It seems so ridiculous to not. I've always wanted to go to New Zealand. And so I then booked another trip to New Zealand, and I booked my flight. I flew randomly, which did it the wrong way around, really, because I'd gone up the East Coast, finished up in Cairns. Um, and so I flew from there down to New Zealand, um, and went on a Kiwi bus trip, which is like you see if you've ever been to New Zealand and you see those green buses, they're Kiwi buses. And this is like a trip that all the people book on. And again, it takes you round, all these different destinations. You can book different tours that are different lengths of time, and takes you around however much of New Zealand you want to go and see. And so I booked, I can't remember what it was called, the trip, and I can't even remember I think pretty sure it was another 3-week one. And I started off, where did I start? In Auckland, and was going to finish there too. So kind of was going to go round the North Island, down to the South Island, and then back up. I'm pretty sure that was my plan. And it was amazing. And actually on this trip, I did kind of make some friends because we were all kind of in the same group going around the same tour. So there was a bunch of us that kind of hung around together. There was one girl in particular that I became quite good friends with, Svanya from Germany. And it was an incredible, amazing trip, as you would expect from New Zealand. We started it off by going to the Bay of Islands and seeing dolphins, and that was amazing. And then, went to see Hobbiton, and it was just beautiful. And then the South Island was even more spectacular. Did lots of touristy things, like went to Queenstown and did this flipping canyon swing thing. Oh my God, never again. It's basically kind of like a bungee jump, except you're in a chair and they push you off a cliff, basically, and then you swing at the bottom. I have never been so terrified in my life. And I also, in that moment when I was dropping that first bit of drop, I just thought, that's it, you're dead. It was awful. And then they pull you back up and you have to sit there for a minute, like petering on the edge of this cliff while they sort you out before they pull you over. And that bit as well, I was just like, get me out of this. It was horrible. Oh, yeah, I didn't enjoy that like I thought I would. Not at all. I did go on a really lovely horse trek as well in a place called River Valley. That was beautiful and lovely. Yeah, just had the most incredible time. Again, stayed in loads of different hostels, met loads of different people, had loads of different funny adventures, loads of different funny, like, little anecdotes. I was also there for an earthquake. Where was I? Oh God, I can't remember any of the blooming names of anywhere, but it was a beautiful place. And yeah, there was an earthquake. It wasn't the big Christchurch one. It was a couple of years after that, but it was a big one because it ruined. We were supposed to go to Kaikoura to go and see the killer whales, but that road, I think, pretty sure it was that road, collapsed that goes past there, so we couldn't do that part, which was really sad. So missed that one out, but did experience a big earthquake, which was also terrifying. But yeah, beautiful, beautiful trip. Made some really cool friends, had some really amazing times, saw amazing things, and it was just incredible. I spent the last 5 days of my trip ill in bed in Auckland. Luckily, I'd booked a nice hostel for the last couple of days, but I was sick. I spent it all in bed. Had this weird, it was just, I don't know, cough, cold, disease thing. Horrendous. Yeah. And then after all of that adventure, that crazy year where I'd left my job of 8 years, which was a big wrench, took myself to Australia, had a bit of a baptism of fire working for someone there, who did, by the way, ask me back again the next year. I didn't go, funnily enough, but yeah. Anyway, then I had this amazing adventure up the East Coast, amazing adventure in New Zealand. I flew home. I'm pretty sure it was just before Christmas. And then on being home for a week or two, got a call from, or a message from the chap I was supposed to work for in America, saying, yeah, you can come over. And yeah, that's it. I flew out on New Year's Eve or the day before New Year's Eve, because I landed on New Year's Eve in Kentucky to start working in Kentucky for this, like, trainer at this dream place that I'd always wanted to go. So yeah, 2016 was a big year. Left a job of 8 years, went to Australia, and I'd never been before. Had a crazy time working for that lady, went traveling, had the most amazing time traveling, got home, found out I'd got my dream job, booked a flight to America, landed there on New Year's Eve. Insane. What a year. Seriously. And then after that, I spent the next couple of years to and from the UK, finishing in 2019. I had that super duper year of, what did I do? Australia, no, Switzerland, Canada, Australia. So yeah, that kind of started off my travel again. 2016 was the year that I started to find myself, I guess you could say. It was the year that I started to realize that there was more outside of the UK than I thought. It was the year that I started connecting to different kinds of horsemanship. Um, it was the year I realized maybe I needed to work on my confidence. It was the year I realized that it's okay to be on your own and you can do hard things on your own, and actually you're more capable than you think and resilient than you think on your own. Um, it was, yeah, definitely a total change. Yeah, 2016 changed my life, really. So, yeah, I guess it was a big year. So, um, if 2026 is the new 2016, then who knows what could happen? I mean, I've moved house for a start. So let's see what happens. I'm interested to see if this whole thing is a thing. I don't know. Anyway, it was a big year for me, and I hope that um I really hope that that story has inspired you a little bit. Because, I didn't suddenly find confidence in 2016. I was pooing my pants for a lot of it. Um, I was really stretching my comfort zone in a big way. All of that travel, all of that meeting new people, all of the different adventures, the new jobs, yeah, it was all terrifying. But I just kept doing the things. I kept showing up. I kept doing the things. I kept, just opening myself up to the experience of everything. I had compassion for myself. I tapped into my own resilience. And the thing is, that is how confidence grows. It's that, like, yeah, it was kind of shattered a little bit working for this lady, but I also started to build it back up again. And you know what happened next? Like, when I got my dream job and I went there, and those people were good people, and I was surrounded by amazing support, and I grew so much there, and I appreciated the experience that I had in the US with those people so much more. I would have appreciated it anyway, but I appreciated it so much more because I'd had that not so great experience the first time I went to Australia. Um, yeah, it was it made it so much sweeter when I was there. um so I'd love for you to now have a think about a year. It doesn't have to be 2016, but a year that quietly kind of shaped your life. It might have been quietly, it might have been loudly. I think, to be honest, 2016 loudly reshaped me and reshaped my life. But also have a think about, like, where did you prove to yourself that you actually could cope, you could do hard things, you had more in you than you thought. And the thing is about growth, the thing is about change, is it often looks really messy and all over the place when you're in it, and it feels messy when you're in it. But actually, when you get to the other side of it, it's really quite a beautiful thing. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. It's kind of a bit of a different one, a bit of a reflective one. But I hope you enjoyed the little bits of adventure. I will maybe share on my stories at the weekend bits from my trip to kind of go with this episode. Just a couple of photos because, well, I mean, I've got plenty of photos from when I was there. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that it's 10 years ago, to be honest, but there we are. Anyway, so talking about confidence and mindset and shifting that, this is obviously the kind of work that I support people with. And if you want to work with me in February, as we are now stepping into February, which is crackers, but hooray that January is over. Flipping out, what a long month. So yeah, we're stepping into February. I have a couple of spots open inside Recalibrate and a couple of spots opening up in the Enlightened Equestrian program. I would love to support you. If you've been struggling with your mindset, with your horsemanship, with your connection to your horse, with your confidence, all of those things, I can help you and I would love to help you. So I'm going to drop my email below. Send me an email and let's chat. Or alternatively, find me on the socials at the Horsemanship and Mindset Coach. Send me a message. Let's chat. And as always, if you love this episode, please share it. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and share it if it resonated or if you know someone else that would like to listen to it. Yeah, that's all from me. I hope you enjoyed today's ramble, and I will see you in the next one.